Hello there, friends. My name is GLDLX. This is Sesh Cast, a cannabis podcast for cannabis sessions. And today's going to be a little bit different because I'm all fired up about something, and that's kind of exciting. So, welcome back to Sesh Cast. Thanks for hanging out. This is just a little podcast I do where I get high and talk about stuff. So, thanks for coming by. If this is your first time here, this is going to be a little bit different than some of my other episodes. Typically, I just kind of ramble. Like last week was really all over the place, just all over the place. But sometimes I have like actual paths to follow, and today I have such a distinct path that I actually have some like articles to reference and some news type things. Going to do a little bit of reporting at you, and that's going to be interesting. So this podcast is going to be mixed, or is going to have slightly less of just my opinion. I mean, my opinion is going to be in here a lot, I'm sure, but it will also include some facts and some actual numbers, and I think that would be kind of fun. So I hope you'll like it, and if you don't, that sucks. I'm sorry. Check out another episode. Maybe you'll like those better. But today, we're going to talk a little bit about legalization, which had some interesting advancements over the weekend, and I want to talk about that. And speaking of the weekend, this is the first episode. Oh, okay, so I should clarify. I'm recording this on like Sunday before the Thursday that this is going to come out. So it's 422. I'm fresh off 420 when I'm recording this. You will be listening to it a little while after. I'm sorry about that. I don't release on Mondays. I release on Thursdays. Um, so if I refer to like this weekend or this past weekend, know that I mean the weekend that included 420 on Friday. I don't know if that will be relevant to the future of this episode, but it may be. We'll see. And I'm also gonna I want to talk about my 420 a little bit because I had a really good 420, and I'm feeling really revitalized and excited, and I'm feeling good to be back. So I want to talk about that a little bit too. I'm gonna turn my headphones up here a little. So I'm looking forward to it, and I hope that you are as well. So to the imagery things, today I am smoking out of this adorable little elephant. I love him. He's not mine. I wish that he was, because man, he is just the cutest. So for 420, I had a bunch of people over, and we all smoked a bunch of weed. And typically my deal, if you're coming to sesh with me, is like you gotta bring something. And it doesn't have to be anything like super tangible or expensive or anything. Like, some people bring weed, that's cool. Some people bring snacks, that's great. And like, if you just want to bring positive vibes and good like conversation, that's awesome too. I think one of my favorite YouTubers said that at one point. That was Josh from Strain Central, I'm pretty sure, who talked about that at one point. If you're into that like weed tube type stuff, but no, like if you're gonna hang out, like make it worth my time to hang out with you, please. That would be really cool. Whether that's just like fun times and good conversations, or good music you want to share, or food or weed or anything. And so on 420, obviously, if you can't tell from my Instagram addiction, I'm a bit of a glass snob, glassaholic. Like I collect glass. I really enjoy different pipes and stuff. I'm looking at all of mine laid out on a table right now because I haven't cleaned up from 420 yet. And boy, it's just so pretty. Like to have all of my glass out and clean and organized. It just feels good. I'm a little OCD like that, and it feels really good. So there's a kind of crappy picture of that on my Instagram as well. It doesn't really do it a lot of justice, but I'll leave it up there. Just yeah, I've got all my glass out right now, and I need to clean it and put it all away today, because today is 420 cleanup day as well. But we'll get to that after I record some stuff. So, yeah, I had 420, and one of the things I wanted to do is have my friends bring some glass over if they wanted to. And my buddy brought over this little elephant pipe that I wasn't even planning on him bringing over. He had borrowed my dab rig, and so he was bringing that back. But I had been over at his house, and I saw this little elephant pipe sitting on the shelf, and I was like, man, dude, I've never seen that before. Is that yours? He's like, yeah, a buddy of a buddy gave it to me. He got it from his friend, and his friend, he got it from his friend, and his friend's friend gave it to his friend. So no one really knows, well, at least no one that I know knows where this pipe came from. Like Kevin Bacon probably knows because we're all just 7 degrees away from Kevin Bacon, but I don't know who made this pipe or where it came from or if it's a head shop piece or a CFL piece or I really don't know what or sorry, CFL didn't make any sense. That I know that it's not a CFL piece, but um I like I don't know where this is from. I don't know if it's blown. I don't know if it was formed or what, but it's adorable and the color on it is really cool. And yeah, I just like it a lot. So this picture will be on my Instagram. That's at Sesh Cast. You can go check that out. And a huge thanks to my buddy for letting me borrow his pipe. I don't think he meant to leave it here, but he left it here. So I'm going to use it to record this episode, clean it up, take a nice picture of it, and then give it back to him. So I'm sure he'll just be happy to get a clean pipe back. But yeah, it's really cute, and I like it a lot. It's on my Instagram. And today I am smoking on weed. I don't know what weed, but it's weed. That's for darn sure. So the other thing that me and my friends do for 420 is we spend all year well, not all year. We spend from January to April, so technically all year, like all of 2018, taking a nug from every haul we get. Every time we go to the store, every time we like meet up with people and they exchange us, you go to a party and sometimes you end up coming home with a full grinder. Like any of those situations, we take a little bit of that, like one nug or a little bit of dust or some keef, and we throw it into this one just house jar. That's the 420 jar. So on 420 we have all this cool community weed to smoke. And it's not like anybody's one weed, so you don't just have one person fueling the whole party. We can basically just pour out this jar and hang out and sesh and never have to worry about anybody burning all of the money they spent the last time they went out. So yeah, it's really cool. I really enjoy it. And I probably won't get a picture because we smoked a lot of the weed that was in there, so it doesn't look as cool, but I do have a list of most of the strains that were in there, and I'm going to pull that up now. So I have all the strains that 2 of us put into this. I think that there were probably more strains in there that I didn't know about, but here is what I have. Oh gosh, I think. Yeah, so I have Purple Zombie Kush, Pineapple Passion, C4, Gorilla Glue 4, Toxic Kool-Aid, Crystal Coma, Diablo, Low Country's Finest, Zombie Purple Kush, did I say that already? More C4, more Crystal Coma, Granddaddy Purple, King Louis the 13th, and Green Crack, all thrown into this jar. And an assortment of those nugs got into my grinder and then got into my bowl. So I don't really know what I'm smoking, but it's got me all happy and talkative, and I'm really enjoying it. So I'm going to take a hit of this. I hope that you will take a hit of whatever you're hitting on too. And yeah, cheers. Oh gosh. So, major, oh god, goodness, downside of this bowl. There's only about 1.25 inches between the mouthpiece and the bowl, so it's total nose burner. I have a mustache. That's hard. Other major downside is that it's a very like stout bowl. It's big, but there's no neck. It's like having a like a big bowl with absolutely nowhere for the smoke to stack except directly underneath the bowl. You'll see what I mean in the picture if you check it out. But so you get really, really hot hits, and you tend to burn your nose. Bummers. Upsides, this thing's adorable, it's super comfortable, and it's gigantic. You can fit a lot of weed in here. So I'm going to try and smoke all of it in this episode, but I've already talked way more than I normally do before I hit it for the first time. So who knows? But that's a sort of a rundown of 420. I mean, that's the cool things, I guess. Like, we sat around, we ate a lot of food. I feel like garbage because I ate more junk food yesterday than I have in like actually years. or maybe since last 420. I don't like try to eat super clean or super healthy, but just because of the people I hang out with and the communities that I'm a part of, I tend to end up eating better, not great, but okay. And I don't eat a ton of junk food. I'm not a big candy guy. I don't eat a lot of sweets, except when it's 420 and they're all around me and I'm smoking hella pot. Then I'm eating hella snacks. So I had sprees for the first time in like 10 years yesterday. I think I ate half a bag. Like, oh gosh, good day. Went out for Mexican food for dinner, which was awesome. Oh, so good. Had pizza for lunch and ate like a pizza and a half. Yeah, I ate like garbage, but that's probably why I feel like garbage today. But I don't have the like 3-day hangover I would had if I supplemented all the weed I smoked for drinking alcohol. So, not the worst thing in the world. But we ate a bunch of snacks. We hung out, listened to a bunch of music. I found out that one of my best friends doesn't like one of my favorite bands, which was a bummer. But that's a podcast for another day. And yeah, it was a good time. So that was 420. I hope that your 420 was great. I didn't end up getting a video filmed for my WeedTube channel from 420. Still don't really know what I'm going to put up there. Just haven't gotten that far yet. We're going to stick to the podcast for a little while. So that's that. The kicker thing is that on 420, marijuana legalization jumped back into the spotlight, all thanks to Chuck Schumer. And so that has had me all fired up over these last couple days about legalization and where we're at right now with that as a country and where I think we're going with that. And I've done a lot of research over the last couple days, and I just kind of wanted to talk about it for a little while. And it's going to be interesting because I'm super high, but like I enjoy news. I think I enjoy news more than a lot of people. I have a journalism degree. I've worked in news for a long time. Like I enjoy news. So it sucks sometimes. You got to weed through a lot of the bad feels when you read a lot of news because there's some garbage out there. But yeah, I've just done a lot of research about this, and not a lot, but enough research about this that I want to talk about it for a little while. And so if this isn't the normal Sesh Cast feel, I'm sorry. I hope that you like it anyway. If you don't, great. Find another episode or don't. I'm sorry that I scared you away with one episode about legalizing the thing that I smoke all the time. I hope you do like it. And if you do like it, let me know that too, because I would be interested in doing more episodes like this. So if you hear some clicking on the computer or like my phone going off, it's because typically I have everything on like airplane mode. And I don't, because I've got articles pulled up all over the place. So apologies in advance if I get distracted because I'm high and my phone is in front of me and I downloaded a new game today, which was stupid. I don't get a lot of phone games. I only have one, and it's Stick Hero, because I got rid of all of my other games because Clash of Clans did me dirty. But I downloaded, I think it's like Snake versus Block. Yeah, that's exactly what it's called, Snake versus Block. It's stupid. I've seen a video ad about this on like Instagram and Facebook for months, and they finally got me to download the stupid thing, and I can't quit playing it. So no free advertisement for those losers who advertise on all of my social media and convince me to get another game to waste time and phone battery that I didn't need. But here we are. Wow, that green crack must have found its way into this grinder, because I am all over the place. It's like this weed is making my ADHD worse. So I'm going to take a hit of this, and then we're going to talk about legalization. So if you've made it now almost 15 minutes and you're not ready for the rest of this episode, just take another big hit and get super high and pass out with your headphones on or something. I don't know. Cheers, friends. Gosh, excuse me. So, legalization. Let's talk about this. The big thing that happened on Friday was that Chuck Schumer Senate Minority Leader, introduced a bill that would decriminalize marijuana, which is awesome. Sorry, there's still a little roll in this. I'm going to puff on this for a second. Anyway, so Chuck Schumer introduced a bill that would decriminalize marijuana, take it off of the scheduled drug sheet. It wouldn't be Schedule 1 drug anymore. That's cool. That's cool for a lot of reasons. Main reason is it would basically leave it up to states to decide what they wanted to do with the weeds. Legalize it, not legalize it, whatever. It would be up to the states. But it would be legal at the federal level, which is important because things that are legal at the federal level tend to just like become legal everywhere eventually. Look at alcohol. They legalized alcohol at the federal level. A lot of places held up until even like in the last 10 years, there were still towns in America where it was illegal to drink. I lived in one of them for a little while. It was weird. Not terrible, but weird. Because, you know, like you could go 3 blocks over and drink in another city, but if you were in the one town where you couldn't drink, there was nowhere to buy alcohol. Like it was totally dry. Super weird. So that would be cool if it got legalized at the federal level. I'm gonna read a little bit here. Basically, Chuck Schumer did an interview with Vice on Thursday, and he said that he was going to introduce this bill on Friday, 4/20. Good for that guy. He did his research. He was like, I want to go viral with this. How can I go viral? I'm going to release a pot bill on 4/20. Boom. Good answer there. Nice, well done, Chuck. But he said, if smoking marijuana doesn't hurt anybody else, why should we allow people to do it and not make it criminal? He asked. He talked in a way that was pretty nonchalant about weed, which is an interesting distinction that I kind of want to make here. And I'm going to bridge away from fact and bridge into my opinion here for a minute. But like, it's interesting to hear politicians talk in a nonchalant way about weed because it's been such a taboo topic like my whole life. And here in the last, I think actually 3 years or less, suddenly it has become a thing that is something that can be talked about on HBO with politicians and it be very normal. So normal, in fact, that Chuck Schumer signed a bong. They tried to get him to smoke. He wouldn't smoke, but they got him to like sign a bong, which is really interesting because in like 2012, if there would have been a picture of the Senate Minority Leader holding a bong, it would have just destroyed that guy's career. Like, oh man, it would have been nuts. And that was 6 years ago. So that's just a really interesting distinction I want to make there, that things have gotten very, very, very normal with weed, which I think is cool because I think that is going to lead us to legalization much quicker. Like, we are going to find ourselves in a legal country much faster because of the normalization of marijuana. And shout out to you, Normal. There you go. There's a free free promo for you, I guess. So this pipe is cool because it can like hook on your thumb and then you don't really have to hold it. It's easy to forget about. So legalization, right? It's gonna happen. I'm gonna put that out there as a hard stance that I believe in. I think that federal legalization of marijuana is going to happen. I think that it is going to happen sooner rather than later. And by that, I mean it's going to happen in my lifetime. I don't know that we will see it soon, but I think sooner rather than later within the next 50 years. I say that for a lot of reasons. The biggest reason is that you can look back throughout the country, or like throughout the history, about the way that we have legalized things in America. And basically once they gain traction somewhere, they gain traction up to the federal level eventually. Alcohol, perfect example. The like traction is huge, and when it when it changes from an underground traction to federal lawmakers talking about weed on TV, holding paraphernalia like it's no big deal. That is a level of traction that is driving us directly into legalization and normalization, and quickly, much more quickly than I expected it to happen. So I think that we are going to see federal legalization in the next 50 years, and I think 50 years is a really conservative estimate. I really do. It is believable at this point that we could see federal legalization in the next 10 years. Part of the reason I say that is because this is not the first pot bill in Senate. So Cory Booker has had this thing going for a long time, another senator. And okay, so like let's also talk that all of these senators are Democrats, with the exception of Bernie Sanders, who I'm going to throw his name out here in a minute. He's an independent, but he's on the Democratic side. So we're looking at a very blue table right now. But Cory Booker has had this Decriminalization Act going for a while that sort of focuses on weed in a different way. And it focuses on something that's very important about legalization, and something that I want to talk about as soon as I take another hit of this, because I'm all over the place. I need to reel myself back in. So, cheers. There is some hot heat coming out of that bowl. That is for sure. So, legalization. Back on that topic, we've got these bills, right? We've got Chuck Schumer put into Senate on Friday, introduced on Friday, saying, let's deschedule marijuana. Let's make it not illegal anymore. Let's let the states figure it out. That's cool. The other side of this right now is Chuck Schumer, and also co-sponsored by Bernie Sanders. And I'm going to pull up another article so I get all of these. I think I have this somewhere. It's Chuck Schumer, Bernie Sanders, Kirsten Gillibrand, and then Rob Wyden, who is from Oregon, and Barbara Lee, who is a congresswoman who filed a companion bill to this in the House. I think that's everybody. So this is another bill that's out there to do not necessarily the, hey, let's make marijuana legal, but the, let's fix all of the crap we messed up when we made marijuana illegal. Basically, how we just tried to sweep minorities off the street by blaming it on weed. Because I'm gonna pull the wool out from over your eyes for a hot second if you're not quote unquote woke. That was lame. I feel bad about saying that, but a big reason that marijuana was made illegal, maybe the biggest reason, maybe the whole reason, you can do your own research on that and make your own decision. But a part of the reason that marijuana was made illegal was to clean minorities off the streets. That's a real thing. You can do your own research on it, and then you can decide how much of an effect that had on the passing of legislation and the war on drugs. Make your own decisions. But a big part of the war on drugs, and specifically marijuana originally, and then big time on opioids later, but like different podcast. It was because they wanted to get rid of minority leaders, specifically Black Americans, and then back when marijuana was first made illegal, a lot of the I don't have this pulled up in front of me, and I'm a little too high to remember all the fast facts, but I believe it was the Mexican population in America was one of the big cleanups that they were going for, and then also the hippies in the 70s. That was anybody who opposed the war, counterculture leaders. That was, I think, probably the only time. Sorry, not so much the 70s, more the 60s, but I think was one of the only times in the whole war on drugs where there was also target on the white side. I'm not gonna lie, like I'm not trying to say that the war on drugs was equal between races, because it wasn't. You can do as much research as you want. The war on drugs was not equal black to white. It just wasn't. But I think one of the only times that they actually targeted white people with the war on drugs was when they were going after the hippies in the 60s, because it was people who opposed the war that they were chasing down there for a little while. Still got a lot of minorities, specifically a lot of black Americans, but they did briefly target white people in there too. So the war on drugs was created to sweep minorities off the streets, and it did a really good job of that. Not good job in the sense of that was a good thing, good job of it was just really effective. And so we have a lot of people in jail right now, like a freaking lot of people in jail, arrested for super minor, non-violent cannabis offenses. Not great. Not a cool thing. Especially because, like, most of those people are black. I did a bunch of research on this earlier because I was tearing somebody out on Instagram. So let me go back here for a second. I really don't like to do the political arguments on social media. I never feel super good about that, and I know that when you fight somebody on social media, like, you are not going to change their opinion. It's not gonna happen. Like, if you really think that you can fight someone on Facebook into agreeing with you politically, you're off. I'm sorry. It doesn't work that way. Occasionally I still do it, sometimes because it's fun, sometimes because I feel like a point needs to be proven. And so I want to tell you a little story about social media today. So on 420, a friend of mine, her name is Sam, she hosts the Super Normal podcast, which you can find on Instagram. It's just Super Normal Podcast. She posted this message: if you support recreational marijuana use, support justice for all of the black and brown people sitting in jail, some up to 20 years for nonviolent arrest for small amounts of weed. And then there's this caption and stuff, and a lot of comments, and good job. Great Instagram post. I agree. We've thrown a lot of people in jail for weed. A lot of those people have been black. A lot of those people have been white. A lot of those people have been every minority and race you can think of. But it has been significantly disproportionate, like madly disproportionate. How many more minorities? The numbers that I have specifically for black Americans, not saying that it hasn't happened to other minorities, that's just the numbers I pulled. And some significantly more for minorities than it has for white people, like 350% significantly. And so I pulled a bunch of numbers to basically get in this Instagram fight with somebody who disagreed with those facts, and that bothered me because as a stoner, as a cannabis activist, as a cannabis entertainer, as just a podcaster in general, as a person, like, I want to be a good representation of this this community and of this mission. Like, I don't just want to be some random stoner kid. Like, I want to be a good representation and do my best to forward this community, because I think that's what we really need. You know, like, if we all get behind this, if we can all advocate and prove to people and show people that just because on 420 we'll all sit in our basements and smoke hundreds of dollars of weed per person for no reason other than to laugh at terrible jokes and eat crappy food, like, even though we all do that, we are still positive members of society. We are still, like, fighting for what's right and not just fighting for the right to melt into our couches. Like, I believe in a lot of these things, and I really believe that if we're gonna legalize weed, we gotta do it the right way. And we got to go back and we got to look at all the people who we've thrown in jail for nothing and try and make that right, no matter what race they are, period. Like, that's just a thing that needs to happen. So to backtrack a little bit, you've got Chuck Schumer's bill that's basically saying, hey, let's make weed cool. No worries. You smoke weed. Whatever. And then you've got Cory Booker, Bernie Sanders, Kirsten Gillibrand, that other guy whose name I don't remember because I've never heard of him until I read this article, Ron Wyden. You've got all those people saying, yes, let's make marijuana legal. Let's also go back and fix all of these things. Let's expunge records. Let's give people the chance to petition for resentencing. Let's reinvest the money that we have thrown away in falsely jailing people into schools and libraries and all of the infrastructure that needs them. They basically said, look at Colorado, look at Washington, look at the mad amount of tax dollars they brought in. Let's redistribute that into places where we can make up for the mistakes that we have made over the years. Okay? That's great. I support that a lot. And one of the things I really support about that is basically saying we can't undo the war on drugs. We can apologize a whole bunch. We can't undo all that crap that we did. So let's pay it forward in a sense. Let's fix it for the future. And that's really important. And fix it for the future is, I think, a mindset that we don't really have enough of in our society right now. Like, just because we can't go back and fix what we did doesn't mean we can't make it better for the people down the line. Hashtag environment. I'm recording this around Earth Day as well. We can fix a lot of the things that we did with the war on drugs and everything if we just try a little harder to make the future better. And I think that is what that bill is. Now, here we are where we've got two bills that are kind of doing the same thing, but going at them from two different paths. And Chuck Schumer said in this Vice interview, basically, I'm aware of this other bill. I support this other bill. This is a different bill trying to do it from a different direction. Now, there is no reason that we couldn't take those two things and put them together, but I don't think it's bad that they're separate, as long as we do it the right way. And I'm going to tell you more about that after I hit this bowl. So, cheers. I've talked a lot. I've not smoked very much. I'm sorry about that. I get really fired up about this. I could talk about this for a really long time. So we've got these two different bills, and they both carry completely different weights politically, and that's super interesting, right? So like I said earlier, everybody on all these bills is blue, except for Bernie, who's in the middle. Excuse me, but way more blue. And currently, Republicans, the red side, has the majority, so we're going to need some support if we want to pass this quickly, which realistically, we're probably not going to pass this quickly. Bills can sit in Senate forever, actually forever. And there's a solid chance that both of these bills might do that, but they're carrying a lot of weight and a lot of steam, and I think it's valid to talk about them. So, Chuck Schumer's bill carries a lot less, is way more neutral politically than Cory, Bernie, Kirsten, Wyden? Was that his name? Ron. I'm going with first names because they're easier to remember. Than their bill. Because let's look at the... I'm really trying hard not to draw political lines here. I'm trying to be very factual. So let's look at the main priorities of the two parties. And fixing the justice system has not been a priority of the Republican Party of late, where fixing the justice system has been a priority of the Democratic side of late. Now, let's acknowledge that the Republican side and the Democratic side sometimes go out of their way to disagree with the other side. Not necessarily because they actually disagree with the politics, but sometimes it's just because, like, you're, oh gosh, what are the McCoys? The something in the McCoys. All I can think of is like the Chadwicks and the McCoys, which is not even close to right. I don't know, they lived on two sides of a river. Like, you were, you are one rivalry, I'm the other. Like, you are my enemy, I disagree with you, even if we're kind of on the same page. And so, I think that the likelihood of getting Republican support from Corey, Ron, Bernie, Kirsten's side is pretty minimal because it is justice system based. Well, not based, but is heavy on the justice system reform. Where you look at Chucky's bill, and it's very straightforward. It's like, hey, let's make weed legal, let's let the states pick it, whatever. Now, hardline Republican politics say states' rights are cool. Let's go with states' rights. So, in theory, Chuck Schumer's bill has a lot of bipartisan weight behind it. And if that can come to fruition and make marijuana legal, that's really cool. If and only if we can have that legalization and continue the serious conversation of criminal justice reform. Because, like Sam said very well, and like I feel like I am trying to put forward here, and what I believe, you really can't have legalization unless you look at all the people you've thrown in jail and give them a chance to get out and have it all be right. Make your own opinions after that, but that's the base. I'm trying to talk base beliefs here. I feel strongly about base beliefs and like lowest common denominators because I like to find things that we can all agree on. Because if I have one belief that's in one corner and you have another belief that's in another corner, and we can find the base belief that we have both built ourselves upon, then maybe we can come to an agreement easier. That's the compromise thing. That's just kind of where I'm at. So I'm trying to find the base belief here, and my base belief that I want to put forward to you, and I hope that you can agree with, is that if we're going to make something legal, we should look at all of the people who we have arrested because when they did it, it was illegal, and say, well, it was illegal then, it is legal now. Should you still be in jail? That's a base belief. Make your own opinions after that. And so if Chuck Schumer's bill can get through, I think that's really cool, but we also need to continue to have the conversation and make it right for the people who have been arrested. So if we just get weed legalized, woo, everybody party, we can't stop fighting there. We need to keep pushing. And I'm now talking, I think, to the cannabis community, anybody here who supports cannabis. Like, let's be real here for a second. The coolest part about weed is that, like, it's great for everybody. I really think that. Like, it's great. Weed's awesome. And so we can't just settle that we have weed. We need to make sure that everybody gets a chance to get their weed. And that means the people in jail, too. If it's a non-violent offense, if it's a small amount, if it's whatever we end up deciding it is, like, we just need to give these people a chance because we can't continue to punish people for something that isn't illegal anymore. So if weed gets legalized rapidly, so fast that it blows all of us away because Chuck Schumer is about to go super viral, and if this catches traction, I'm going to be bold and say that we could have legal weed by the end of the year. I have a lot more beliefs that would lead me to think that, but I'm running out of time in this podcast. If Chuck Schumer's bill gains the traction that I think it might, we might have legal weed by 2019, and that would be crazy. And if that happens, don't get jaded. Don't forget that we still have punished a lot of people for this, and we need to make all that right. And don't forget that, like, a lot of stuff is going to change when legalization happens, and we're going to have to fight back against big weed, which is scary to think about, but like the big tobacco version of big weed, we're gonna have to fight off the medical industry and the RX industry. Like, it's gonna be different. And if we're gonna legalize weed, we got to do it the right way. So if virality happens and we get legal weed, don't forget that there's more to this than meets the eye. Robots in disguise. Cheers. Here I am at the end of this podcast. It feels like it flew by. So I hope that you enjoyed this. It was a much different style of Sesh Cast than I've done in a while, but I really enjoyed this. So please tell me if you did. I would really like to know if this is a style that people are into. This is much more baked and awake than I typically do. That's one of my other buddies' podcasts, Steve. He is also part of, as well as Sam, this podcast builders league that I'm a part of, and it's just a great group of people who have a great bunch of shows. So anytime I have a chance to openly acknowledge somebody else from the builders league, I'll do it. So Sam from Supernormal, thank you for partially the inspiration to this post, and just, I don't know, you made a good post on 420. I'm real proud of you. Not proud of you because like you were some sort of subservient, but it's cool to see people do good things, especially when I know that your priority is not cannabis legalization. So awesome. Thank you. And yeah, Steve, he has another podcast that I like. It's called Baked and Awake. Check it out. This was much more up his alley or his style than is typically mine. But if this was something that you liked, let me know. I'd love to know if you enjoyed this. I'd love to do more of this. But if everybody hates it, I'll quit doing it. That's fine. I'll just continue to do it on my own time. I am a podcast. Find me everywhere. I am an Instagram. Find me there too. It's at Sesh Cast. I think that's all I've got. I'm gonna take another hit of this, and I'm gonna go. Cheers. My name is GLDLX. This has been Sesh Cast. Thank you so much for listening.